What's up everyone, I'm Gooshy, and in this video we're me going over my full-on melee Trickster build. This build started off as a fun idea, but we optimized it so we're using as little legendaries and tier 3 mods as possible, and became pretty viable in CT15. And I gotta admit, this is a pretty fun way to play Outriders, so if you want to learn more, stay tuned. So I wanted to give credit to All Day Any Day Gaming, as this is how I found out about one of the main components which really help us boost our damage, because to be real, there aren't many mods to support a full melee build, making your damage just decent. And so as you saw in the opening clip, to boost our damage, we'll be freezing and burning enemies, and then using the mod's Bullet Kindling, which will have you dealing 20% more damage against enemies afflicted by burn, and Freezing Boost, which will increase damage against enemies afflicted by freeze by 15%. And so the way that we consistently apply these status effects are with the mods Snowquall and Mark of the Stake. Once I reload this weapon, it will inflict freeze and burn to enemies previously wounded by this weapon without changing it. However, since these mods proc at the beginning of a reload, you can animation cancel the reload and still get its effects. And an easy way to cancel this reload is with a melee attack. And so these work perfectly together. Next, let's talk about the gear that we'll be using. Because your melee damage scales depending on how much anomaly power you have, the passive attributes that we want to get are anomaly power, cooldown reduction, and skills life leech. Next, we'll go over all the mods that boost our melee damage or anomaly power. For my helmet, I'm using Anomaly's Visage, which has a tier 3 perk, Anomaly Echo, grants 3,276 firepower and 11,484 anomaly power bonus on skill activation for 15 seconds. I mostly use this just for the passive attributes and because this mask looks really cool. And this tier 3 mod is definitely not needed because an increase of 11,000 anomaly power is really not that much. Taking a look at my current anomaly power, which is at 174k, 11,000 is only a 6% increase, but honestly any extra anomaly power is good. Next on my upper armor, I have Exposing Strike. Killing enemies with a melee inflicts vulnerable to enemies within a 10-meter radius around you. Since most of the time we'll be killing enemies with a melee, this mod should be active all the time, making all enemies vulnerable. Shield Blast is another offensive mod, which on a complete shield depletion triggers a powerful energy blast that deals 147,000 damage to enemies within a 5-meter radius. This mod is just alright and what came with my chest piece, so if you have something better, this mod is definitely one you could replace. As mentioned before, on my lower armor, I have Bullet Kindling and Freezing Boost to get some extra damage in. Next on my gloves, I have Martial Arts, which will reduce the cooldown of our melee skill by 50%, and Stand Tall. Receive 9,000 anomaly power and 12,000 firepower when out of cover for more than 5 seconds. Martial Arts is absolutely needed for this melee build, and for Stand Tall, if you have something better, like Captain Hunter, that'll definitely be a better option. Finally, on my boots, I have Brawl, which will boost your melee skill by 100%. This mod is absolutely needed, as with a melee build, boosting your melee damage as much as possible is really important. Finally, the last mod is Untamed Power. Out of all the mods that you have, this is probably the most important. This states that using the skill deals 52,270 damage to enemies within a 5-meter radius around you. However, this damage scales to 30% of your current anomaly power. And what's great about this mod is that along with your abilities that you use, melee attacks also count as a skill. So with every melee that you do, you basically get 2 hits. One from Untamed Power and the second from the melee damage. Finally, for defense, I only have one defensive mod, which is Emergency Stance. This gives you a golem for 4 seconds whenever your health drops below 30%. If you guys didn't know, this mod is actually bugged right now, and once activated, it will give you that golem damage resistance of 65% permanently. So for now, this is all you need. Finally, I also wanted to go over my secondary weapon. The mods I have equipped are Resistance Breaker. Shots decrease your target's resistance by 35%. For 6 seconds. This is super important because as you're doing crowd control effects like freeze and slow, elites build up resistance which have these effects negated. So reducing the target's resistance makes it so you have more time to apply these effects on elites. The other mod that I have is Claymore, which is just extra 133,000 damage every 4 seconds I use the gun. Next we'll go over our abilities. We'll be using Temporal Blade, Predator's Knife, and Hunt to Prey, as all of these have really low cooldowns. And we want these low cooldowns because in our skill tree, we'll be using the node Counter Shield, activating your Deception skills, increase anomaly power by 50% for 10 seconds. Combat Shield's timeline, activating a movement skill, increases anomaly power by 50% for 10 seconds. And Anomaly Acceleration, when your damage skill ends, increase your anomaly power by 50% for 10 seconds. There's one other way in the skill tree that we increase our anomaly power, and that is with Anomaly Scything. Activating a melee skill increases your anomaly power by 30% for 5 seconds. For the rest of the nodes, we're going to be taking Concentration to increase our anomaly power by 6%, and Life Transfer, which will increase your skill leech by 6%. Finally, another notable node that we'll be taking is Wither Scything. Your class melee skill inflicts weakness to all enemies hit. Along with that, we'll be taking Atrophy, which has weakness inflicted on enemies lasts 30% longer. Because we're weakening all enemies, our skill life leech is being boosted by our passives and our skill tree, along with the fact that we'll be meleeing constantly to get that skill life leech. We should be pretty tanky. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the melee build. Again, I wanted to give a disclaimer. This build is definitely not the strongest in the game, and it does struggle to do big burst damage against elites. But like I said, it is pretty viable and really fun to use. With that, I really hope you guys learned something in this video. If you did, please drop a like. And if you're going to be trying out this build, let me know in the comment section down below, because I want to see what variations you guys have done. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope to catch you in the next one, and GG.